Baruchim Aboim, B'Shem Hashem. Welcome to the annual Masiba on behalf of Irgun Shirei Torah, hosted by classic caterers, Rabbi Yanki Fureisen and his Eishes Chayil, Yossi Eidler. As always, we Poiseach B'Chvod Achsanya, so many years, more than 20 years. Fureisens and the Eidlers are hosting this Maimid Shel Achsakas HaTorah. This very room, this is a room where so many simchas and flappish occur for so many years. I myself have made many simchas here, bris and kiddushim, offervin, and it really is a representative of what goes on in this neighborhood. And Yanki and Yossi and their families recognized the importance and the value of using their kelim of parnasa for Achsakas HaTorah. They've been sponsoring this for over 20 years. They've invested literally hundreds of thousands of dollars in support of this, and we give them the bracha that they should be able to go Menahel Choyl, should continue bitoch gesund and mitoch b'suras toivus and mitoch hatzlacha, and we appreciate everything that they do for Irgun Shirei Torah. I would also like to mention that tonight is the yurtzeit of a great person, Reb Zev Wolfson, Reb Avrohom. His yurtzeit is tonight. It's one of the greatest Balei Tzedakah in the history of the world. His son, Rav Avrohom ben Zev, was a very close friend of mine, and they were strong supporters of Irgun Shirei Torah. Rav Avrohom was on the board of Irgun Shirei Torah, and Irgun Adi Yom Hazeh receives support from the Wolfson family. Yehei Zichrei Baruch. I'd also like to mention some of the other great underpinnings of this organization. As many of you remember, Rav Shmuel Birnbaum, Hagoyin HaTzadik, Hagadol, was the Nasi of this organization. He was very proud of his association. He stood here at this very podium year after year until he wasn't able to physically anymore. I would also like to mention my Rabbi, the Boston Rebbe of Flatbush, Pinchas David Halevi Horowitz, Zichron Tzadik Livracha, who opened up his Beis Medrash so many years ago for the summer shiurim that is still so widely attended every night by men and women, hundreds of people, tens of thousands of people over the years. And he as well was a very, very strong supporter of all the Achsakas HaTorah that is arranged through Irgun Shirei Torah. Chazal tell us, Talmidei Chachamim ein lehem menucha, loy ba'olam hazeh v'loy ba'olam haba. Shenemar yechol Menahel Choyl yeru Elokim b'tzion. And the Vilna Gaon explains, what does it mean that they don't have menucha, not in this world and not in the next world? He teaches menucha. He says menucha means hashlomas hap'ula, finishing something, like it says by Yonach b'yom hashvi. When the Baruch Shem created the world, there was a complete stop when it came to Shabbos. So the Talmidei Chacham have no menucha because they don't stop, not in this world and not the next world. They go Menahel Choyl, they go from one sugya to the next sugya, they go from one yeshiva to the next yeshiva. These are the underpinnings that this organization is built on. And the organization continues to grow, and as we've reported in prior years, more recently, aside from the great growth here in America, the growth continues in Eretz Yisrael as well. More shiurim, thousands upon thousands of shiurim per year, programs bein azmanim, chalamoid for Bachrim. This year was added a new program for post-high school age girls in Eretz Yisrael, seminary age girls that are able to get away during the summer zman for limudim and recreation instead of being cooped up, so to speak, in the city. Many of these girls are on the way into shidduchim and they're finished with schools. Some of them are shaykh to seminary, some of them are not. And then the general harbatzas HaTorah that happens every day. We know about it here in the summertime in Flatbush and Williamsburg and Borough Park, but throughout the year. And in Eretz Yisrael has been added in the large Skver Beis Medrash Yerushalayim attended by hundreds of people per night. Some of the greatest Magidei Shiur in Klal Yisrael, Rav Mechel Steinmetz, Rav Asher Weiss. Hundreds of people are going. All of that. People see it in Yerushalayim, but it's all being arranged by a Yid here in Borough Park by the name of Laser Baruch Bald, who's pulling the strings. And because of this is what's going on. But as the shiurim grow, the expenses continue to grow as well. This doesn't happen without money, and it's not just the printing costs, which is voluminous. There are traveling costs for Rabbanim. There are certain Rabbanim that need to get paid. There are certain college teachers that need to get paid. There are people that need to get even just a ride today from Lakewood for a Rav to give a shiur back and forth. Could be $500. And this is happening in the thousands all over the world, in Europe and America, all across the country and in Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Bald makes it all happen. He doesn't waste a second. You know, the Chavetz Chaim wrote a sefer called Teres Habayis. The basic theme of the sefer is to explain that basically, other than the things that a person has to do, a person shouldn't waste a second. Any extra second he has, a person should dedicate to learning or to different mitzvah, particularly learning. He gives a marshal in that sefer. He says, if a person has an opportunity to go ahead and do the mitzvah of Hatzalas Nefashos, the Gemara says, Godel Talmud Torah Yosem Hatzalas Nefashos. It's a Gemara Megillah. Gemara supports it with Psukim, let's do it Mordechai. But the Chavetz Chaim explains, based on a marshal, he said, if somebody has an opportunity to do Hatzalas Nefashos, he sees somebody drowning, and he's successful, and he saves the person, how happy he is, how proud of himself he is, how happy he is for the rest of his life that he was zeicher to do such a mitzvah like that. But the emes is that if you would ask somebody, what's a greater mitzvah to save somebody, or to sit down and learn a Blat Gemara, the halacha psuka is, unless it's a mitzvah she'ef shelasos edei acherim, the mitzvah Talmud Torah is doicha hatzalas nefashos. If you would ask somebody, this person just came from learning with Chavrus, and this person just came from saving someone's life, which person is on a higher madrega? Most people would think the person was saved, but the emes is nicht azay. This is what this organization is built on. This organization is built on stressing that for every second, every extra second that we have, and a variety of shiurim, variety of topics, variety of rabbanim, to make people busy with Torah, every chance they have. And the people that, the greatest rabbanim that support this organization are here with us tonight. First of all, Rav Dishon, who's sitting with me, will be the second speaker, who came with great Mesiras Nefesh. I won't go into details. I don't know if it's my place, but I can say that a day or two ago, he was in Chicago, and he had to have an emergency medical procedure. And the fact that he's here literally a day or two later shows his Moridik Mesiras Nefesh and his Chavivus that he has for this organization. And Rav Avrohom Schorr, who's been here from the very, very beginning, I think is the only speaker who speaks in all venues, in Borough Park, in Flatbush, in Williamsburg, no matter where, whatever accent you want, he's there, and he's always informed Rabbi Bald, whenever you want me, wherever you want me, I'm there for you. I believe in what this organization is doing. So without any further ado, it's a great covet for me to ask Rav Schorr to come and address the element.
Shlit. Hagon agudlo Rav Shmuel Dishon Shlit. Sie kimmen du Mesiras Nefesh, Shis Dayanim, Rabbonim, Choshev Tzibur. Rashi in Parshas Eikev, Tosis in Merubah Daf Pei Beis, both tell us that Moshe Rabbeinu was 3 times in Shamayim. Yud Ches Tammuz, he went up again, till Chof Tesov. Chof Tesov, he came down, David told him Psolocha, and he went back up with the Luchis, and he brought down the Luchis on Yom Kippur. What did Moshe Rabbeinu do in these 40 days between Yud Ches Tammuz and Chof Tesov? Chazal tell us that he was misfall, he turned over every stone that he can, that the Eibishter should be meratze to Klal Yisrael, that there should be an Elul, that the Eibishter should give the Yud Gimel Midas Sharachmem, and we should zeichen to Luchas Achreinis. In Mishnes Rabban from Rabban Kotler, Zeichet Tzadik Leveracha, says, what do we learn from this thesis? We learn from this thesis, what is the avoid of a Yid from Yud Ches Tammuz to Chof Tesov? What is this avodah? It's Yomim Miuchodim for Tefillah. It's Yomim Miuchodim for Tefillah because Moshe Rabbeinu was Matzliach in his Tefillahs to bring down an Elul. To say it over in the right words. Every Yid wants an Elul, an Eisratzein. Days that they should be Meratze, that should be the Yud Gimel Midas Sharachmem. There should be a Ksiva V'Chsimet Teva. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Yom Adin should go the way it should be. Zok Rabban, if you want an Elul, you need to have the 40 days in between. You have to be mispal on these days that the Elul should be an Elul. We're left in the Achere Ari, we're left in the last days of Chodesh Av. There's less than a week left in Chodesh Av in these days. That Moshe Rabbeinu was mispal and was Zeicha Chof Tesov to come down from Shamayim. It's the avodah of a Yid in these days to use these days for Tefillah. These days are miyuchid. Not only the miyuchid for Tefillah, there's the koyach to bring down an Elul, daikos for the koyach at Tefillah. Chazal tell us, the Posik tells us in Eichos, HaKoyse ba'onen loch ma'aver Tefillah, that in Golus there's an onon, that's a sukkah, a separation, a schach, me'aver Tefillah, the Tefillah doesn't go up. In Golus Mitzrayim, it says in the Torah, Vayar b'sivuleisam, it says in the Sefer Darkei HaEmunah, a Talmud from the Meshalei Psaseve, b'sivuleisam is Rosh Tevis, Sakoyse ba'onoloch maver Tefillah. That was the civilization of a Yid in Golus, that his tefillos are blocked. It's the greatest civilization of Golus, the greatest suffering of Golus. It says in Yaris Devash, from the Heilige Rebbe Rabbi Yonason, why does it say in Pasik, Sakoyse ba'onon loch me'aver tefillah? Why doesn't it say Sakoyse ba'onon me'aver tefillah? What does the word loch mean? Says the Rebbe Rabbi Yonason, the Eibishter doesn't make a sukkah, the Eibishter doesn't make schach, the Eibishter doesn't make an onon. The onon comes from us. Sakoyse ba'onon loch. The person with his diburim, the person with the vapor that comes out of his mouth, causes an onon which doesn't let tefillah to go through. Oh, but there's an eitzah. There's an eitzah called Shari Demois Leininalu. Even Sakoyse ba'onon loch maver tefillah, there's an eitzah of Dimo. I saw once in a Sefer of a Nifla Admiyat. The Rambam writes in Ochus Yisodei HaTorah, the Rambam writes that the worlds are like a gildei bitzolim. The worlds are like the shells of a onion. One world surrounds the other world. The Mekoyer of the Rambam, Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky Tzeichel Suin, is Mekoyeres on the Rambam. Twice in Zera Kodesh it says that the worlds are like a gildei bitzolim. Every moshel that there is here to teach us something. I saw in a Sefer, Adova Nira Admiyat. When a person cuts an onion, he cries. We'll ask any person, why do you cry? And that's the way it is. Who made it that way? We'll think a minute, we'll have to answer the Rebbeinu Shalom, where Maminim. Why did they wish to make it that way? Because that's the way it is. Nein. Since du hast a Sache in der Welt, that's the way it is. Everything is here for a limud. The Eibishter wanted to teach you how you cut through the worlds. The worlds are kigildei b'tzolim. How does a word person cut through all the worlds that are blocking his tefillos? Or the Eibishter gemacht, then when you take a knife and you cut through a bottle, you cry to teach you that the only way to cut through worlds is dima. Dima. Crying. It's probably one of the things that our generation sees the least of. When the Heilige Rebbe of Lublin finished the Besmedish in the Chayze, finished the Besmedish in Lublin, he came to look at the Besmedish and said, something is missing. There's no Ezes Noshim, there's missing Weibische Treren. A Besmedish without Demoyes is something missing. What does it mean that we don't cry? Why is it that we don't cry? The Gzeiros are Neirevayim. Why is it that we don't cry? Let's see what the mitzias of crying is. Pchi is called dima. Why is it called dima? The Sasema says, the Pasuk says, Meleoscho v'dimacho leisa'acher. Dimacho is something that's mixed. Dimua. A tzara that touches your heart, you cry. A superficial tzara, you don't cry. If it's dimua, if it goes into the heart, if the leiv even is not a leiv even, it becomes a leiv basar, then you're able to cry. But if not, if it's a superficial talk, a superficial feeling, you don't cry. Dima has to do with how much a thing is negeya to the leif. But there's another nekuda in Dima. The same Sefer Darkei Emunah that we quoted before says that the word Dima is from the tziruf of two letters, two words, Dama. When a person feels that he's helpless and he has no way to help himself, then he cries. But when a person has an ability to help himself, or is it anger that he has an ability to help himself, then why should he cry? I can help myself. Dimo comes from da, from knowing ma, that I have nothing to do for myself. V'nachnu ma, we have nothing to do for ourselves, except to go to the Heilige Bashefer and be pointed to the Bashefer and talk to the Bashefer and cry to the Bashefer. When a matzav of Gzeiros here, Gzeiros in Israel, Gzeiros Gius, Gzeiros on B'nai Torah, Sinner to B'nai Torah, anti-Semitism, that is a shlichus from the Eibishter, nobody else. Why? Because we have to feel helpless and cry to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That is emistik tefillah. So the koyach of tefillah is to cut through the worlds, to cut through the sakaisa ba'analach me'aver tefillah. Our avodah is to feel take the dama, to feel take that we don't have a way to save ourselves. How does it say in the tefillah? In the Zmiris of Leil Shabbos in Koribain, Mipum ar yevosa. What do those words mean? A person in Golus has to feel that he's already in the mouth of the lion. Has no way to help himself. The lion is already there. He's in the lion's mouth already. Der Schrei, der Kvitsche. Oi, does that Kvitsche help by the Rebbeinu Shalom? But that all comes from a feeling that's not me and it's not I, and I don't have what to sell, and I don't have what to do. I have one thing to ask the Eibush to help. And those are the tefillahs that we need now in the generation. Not to walk around and think, Ach Shadara, Sisa Libi, how much Torah there is, and how much good there is, and how much chesed there is, and we deserve, and we deserve, and we deserve. Why don't we deserve? Why do we need Rachmei Hashem? Why do we have to come on to the Rebbeinu Shalom? Realize, Dama, I have nothing to give to you. I don't give anything. I'm in the red. My Excel sheet is in the red, not in the green. That's the way a person has to come to Eibishter. Then we cry. Then you scream. Then you cry. Then the true tears, nicht similar Tränen, amnestige Tränen that come out of the Pnimius Halev. That's what we need. We need the mois. We need the mois. The mois is the koyach of a Yid knowing that he does nothing, and he has to do more, and he has to do noch more, and he has to do noch more, and he's never mistopic what he does, because nothing that he does is enough. Maybe that's the right way to put in the right words what Eigenshu Torah is, what Rabbi Lezer Baruch is. Not somebody that says, I do so much, I have so many shiurim in the world. I don't have enough shiurim. I'm missing, I'm not doing enough. That's the feeling of a Yid, to know not what I have, know what I don't have, and what I do have to do, and what more I have to do, and how much more Mesiras Nefesh I need, and how much more I have to do. But our Aveda is at the end of Chedesh Av, the Chayr Ari, when the Aveda is to wake up and realize that Shabbos is ever Chedesh. Thursday is Yom Kippur Cotton, Shabbos is ever Chedesh, Sunday and Monday is Chedesh. Tell. The Rebbe of Bet Yisrael writes one place, he talks about Shabbos is Chedesh Elul, and he says, Shabbos is a man for Tshuva, Chedesh is a man for Tshuva. Elul, who Elul? Elul the Elul. It doesn't need explanations. It's not Labor Day yet. Obviously it's Elul. And the few days that are left to use it for the Tefillah, for the Amnesty Tefillah, it's for the Amnesty Avodah Shebelev, the Tefillah, to be able to turn on the Lev is Megamatri Epchi, to cry out to the Eibishter and feel taki that we don't have anything, feel taki the Nachumah, and be Zoicha to a Dimah, be Zoicha to be mad, to be Amnesty, be Mapel Dimah to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and cut through the worlds, and be Mavatel the Gezeres, and be Zoicha to see with our eyes, when the Eibishter brings the Gula b'Mehera.
Very. Leibisch is about not gave find see Marisch from Woche. Okay. Ja, da rein aber sich zu den 7 Woche, da? No, stand.
Shem being so I'd like to thank our Rav Avrohom Schorr Shlit for the fun fight the Gevet and always be Mechazik Klal Yisrael all over the world. Oidirum Besev the Shem Ram Yu Mechazik Zan Oichem Shem Toivis Simchas Venachas Oichem Shem Toivis. Before I call upon Rav Shmuel Dishon to speak, the Skver Dayan Besrakshis Liebe wants to say a few words. Divrei Bracha. He comes to Barapak. He answers shouts and Shuvah Dal Chalke Shechanarach, and people here all over the world. He will give him a Divrei Bracha.
I'm sorry I can't speak English, Yiddish. We hebben ons naar is goed de alle goede Rabbunem, Rav Dishon, de andere Dayan. Ik wil nog zo'n een dag. De Chazal zoeken we gaan nooit maar doen en dan wij ooit zu de Gladia, misma met die zijn. Teile Jiden, es weiß nicht, wo es hier hat Nacht. Ausgehalten am Mäuset, wo Tausende Jiden sitzen in Lehnen durch dem. Bei Emerson schorchem gudel moit, amot so schier, at es weiß nicht, wie viel Talmide mit zotten die ganze Welt. Moire wir Rabbi, sa jeden sich es schießen, fahre schoide Scheller. I den du also größer, größere Schiss von dem, wo es jeden kennenlernen, durch dem, wo es mir helft daraus, die alle jeden. Und noch 120 Jahre hat mir aufgekommen auf jene Welt, hat mir fragen, wo hast du gelernt? Hat mir sagen, die ist gelernt, Tausende Blatte gemoerd. Sagt er, Emmers, doch eine Welt für Shaker, du? Eine Welt von Emmers. Sagt er, nein, doch dem, wo die ist Geurem gewesen, an noch Jiden sitzen lernen, auf die Heilig in dem. Mit meine Teile Jiden, es darf bedanken von dem Chuschewen, Asker, Bluse, Burig, was hat gestellt auf der Welt, die handige Zeiten, teure, in ganz Kader, was ich gedenke, wenn das ungeheuben, wo sitzen hat, Tausende Jiden sitzen da, alle Moises, alle Chsidesen, es kommt dem Jid zu verdanken. Tari Jiden, es halt mir jetzt falsch, in der Schelte, und der Friedemann, jeder darf schießen, nicht nur so ein größeres Schiss, wie mit Marbe teure, wie Jiden können sitzen lernen, will ich eigentlich umwünschen, an der Reibestellen, darum aktive Teube, in der Gittgebenschur, in durch dem Schiss, in der Reibestellen, und der sagt nachher von den Kindern, 10 Gittische Diche, de Fies mit die Schiers, in Axive, Wachsie mit Teube, in a Gittgebenschur.
Amen.
Moeilijke vlam fire the great doen, maar joiets om de groesem lev. The greatest Skver Dayan every Chalamoy dances shouts and shuvas. There are thousands of people all over the world listening to the shurim. He has tens of thousands of talmidim just from the shurim. Now I want to call upon my Rabbi, Rav Shmuel Dishon Shlit. I made a few hours ago a Shechionu v'Shema Malchus on him. I got up Sakram Chaim Kanevsky that I'm allowed to do it. Even Pochas Mishloshim Yoim. He was in the hospital in Chicago. Came late last night from the hospital. I told him, Rav Dishon, do not come. Rav Shor said not to come. Look, ich muss. Habotz es atoyre, ich muss. Rav Dishon came, he was in the hospital. I don't want to say the details. Now, danken der Eibische, she be gesund nicht stark. Reb Shmuel ben Perel, Eibische, on Fushneim, Zach Shocher, Yisov, and Oima. Amen. Now, the Covenant Schluss to call Rav Dishon for the Heintige Drosh, give his warm words.
As we should the cover that say I should stand, but it's a little hard for me. So first, Pirshus, Yedid Nafshi Ahuvi, Rav Avrohom Ben Moire Rabbi Arav Gedalia, Pirshus Arabonim Achashuvim that sit here, Kol Echad Vishmoi Hatoiv Yavoirach. There's a phenomenal Gemara. I heard once shot from Rabbi Kotler Zechatzadek Lebroche, a hesber on this Gemara. The Gemara tells us there was a minhag once, if a great thing happened to a melech, all the Melachim around him used to send him a letter of greetings. So a big nace happened to Chizkiah Melech, and all the Melachim sent him letters. Nebuchadnezzar Melech Bovel was that time the scribe of the Melech, and he wasn't there. So they sent a letter to Chizkiah, and the letter read as follows: Shalom lemalkol the Yehudoi, peace upon the king of the Yidden. Shalom lekarto chashuv delay, and then it says at the end, Shalom leelokor rabo delay. Shalom leelokor rabo delay. So Nebuchadnezzar came running and they say, I don't understand you. You say Elokor Rabo, the great God, and you put him at the end? It's not nice. So they said, you know, you're right. So what's the answer? To call back the king, the shliach, and write a new letter. And Yuglo, so Nebuchadnezzar Melech Bovel chased, he ran after the shliach to rewrite the letter and write first HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which means he took 3 steps for Kovod Shomayim. 3 chefs for Torah Shemaim. What's the schar that he got? The schar that he got that he became a melech. Unfortunately, what did he do with the malach? With the malach, he destroyed the Beis HaMikdash. But the Gemara says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu stopped him. Why did he stop him? What should he have done worse than destroy the Beis HaMikdash? So Rabbi Trotler Zecher Tzadik Livrocha said he could have stopped the building of the Bayis Sheni. As hat Rabbi gesagt. Rabbi said, if someone takes, we say every day in our davening 3 times a day, Oiseh Shalom Imroimov, Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. And we take 3 steps. Why? We want to undo those steps that Nebuchadnezzar HaRosha made, and we still cannot undo it. He made such a roishem in the Bria that unfortunately, the roishem is still there. And we say every 3 times a day, Oiseh Shalom Imroimov, and we take 3 steps. Rabbi said, everyone that came, every single person that came to this Mesibah Shel Mitzvah took a few steps to Torah Shemaim. What happened? What did Rabbi say? There's no as you heard, there's no organization in the world. They spread so much Torah in the entire Kadu Haaretz, in the entire globe. There's not one. We were talking about communication, we're talking about technology. Here it's being used LeTorah. So through the media, when someone speaks any place, he's being heard all over the world. All over the world. Do you know what it means? There are thousands of Yidden that even a Yid answers Amen is not the same person. I once heard from Rav Shmuel, a Yid that answers one time Amen, Amen Yehei Shmei Rabbi, he is already not the same person he was. He changed. And if you have hundreds of thousands of people, they say Amen Yehei. I know, I'm sure Rav Shmuel can testify. We get phone calls after a shir. We say here in New York, we get phone calls from all over the world. What's pshat in that? What's pshat in that? What's pshat in that? Oh, did you mean that? Where did you hear me, Bechlal? Where you mean, did you speak for you Shulei Torah? I heard you. Where are you? In England, in London. Where are you? I'm in Eretz Yisrael. Do we realize, Rabbi say, how much harbotzas HaTorah it is? It means that hundreds of thousands of Yidden are elevated. A Yid that learns one word Torah, he is not the same person because he learned one word Torah. A Yid that said Amen Yehei Shmei Rabbi is not the same person. And Baruch Hashem, like the Skver Dayan said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has Rachmones on his door. We don't have to go through the ills of the door. We know it. Everyone that sits here knows the ill and the chesoines of the Torah. Let's concentrate on the Torah. Rabbi say, Miyoim Heyois, United States of America. Was there so many Talmud Torah? I just came back from Chicago. Rabbi said, do you know how many Kolelim there are? How many B'Syartovs there are? How much Chesed there is? Not loyal aladas, but it's one stot Chicago. Mamish the Chesed that's being done over there. in New York, England, not one place in the Kadul Ha'oretz that Idul Shu'ore Torah, Idul Shu'ore Torah didn't reach, which means, you're talking about revolutions. Revolutions. This is a world revolution. Every corner of the world is not the same it was before Idul Shu'ore Torah came. You know why? Because there's more Torah, there's more Avodah, there's more Yerushalayim, there's more Chesed, but Rabbi say, it's true, there are latewood. I would like to tell the Oilum, a Maaseh Shehoyo, I heard it from the Malam Maaseh. We all know that the Meyasedis of Beis Yaakov in America is Rebbetzin Kaplan. One day she felt she cannot take it anymore. She needs help, so she went to her husband. Baruch, you have to help him. He said, you crazy? Rav Shmuel just went to Kletz. By the way, I would like you to know, the only individual that Rabbi gave Rishus to come to Kletz was Rav Shmuel. And I want to tell you the story La Mito. When Rav Shmuel and the Rebbetzin came, Rabbi invited them for Kiddush. And the Rebbetzin Kotler tells Rebbetzin Schorr, entschuldigt, ich bete ha-teure, please stay on the side. So Rebbetzin Schorr says, Pavos, die Haar. Was die Haar? Is an verdeckt die Haar? So Rebbetzin Schorr got insulted. Is an mich heuschet, als ich verdeckt nicht die Haar? Ich bin doch Hasidisch. Ich verdeckt nicht die Haar. Rabbi was shocked. So Rav Shmuel was the only one that about it. So Rabbi Kaplan got the job, the highest shir in Torah V'das. Now he should give it up. So he went to Rabbi and he says, was soll ich tun? Rabbi says, Rabbi, ich soll dich nicht was tun. But I want to tell you a story. When I came to America, my Havamina was, in a few months, my Eidim, my Shver, them, Mr. Zalman, invited me to come to Eretz Yisrael. I'm going to Eretz Yisrael. What do I have to do here in America? Because I said, I'll build the yeshiva. Who's going to marry the Bacham? Nobody. I'm going to Eretz Yisrael. Herzlich Heire Bauch. Wenn ich auch gehört, als Rebbetzin noch geöffnet, der Messiashev, ob ich geöffnet Leitwood. Rebbetzin noch geöffnet Leitwood. He heard Bauch. Rebbetzin noch geöffnet Leitwood. And what is Lakewood today? Do I have to tell you? Because there was one Ehrliche Dinner. One Ehrliche Dinner. Since then, Rav Shmuel left a Yerusha von Deures. There's Besiakus. There's this Kololim. But Oile al Kulam. If one Rebbetzin was able to open up a Besiakus, and that caused Rabban to open Lakewood, what's with all other Adam Marbitze Teure? And what's with other Harbotzes HaTeure? Rabbi say, the Blazer Baruch Bolt was sent by the Hashgocha Ha'oliyonu. It's not shaykh that one person should do himself what he does. is a Shliach of the Hashgacha HaElyoina. The Eibusher had Rachmanis on our door, so he took Rabbi Baruch Bold and he gave her supernatural koiches, but he cannot do it himself. Cannot do it himself. Je weet wat dat meent als Yid sagt, you know, the Heilig, I was zoiche to be many times paedition of the Belzerov. We used to learn, I used to learn in Pesach Titwe, Motzei Shabbos we used to finish Menachem Av, and we used to take a bus to Tel Aviv, to Rehov Achad Ha'am, we used to come to the Belzerov. There wasn't a mob there. There wasn't a mob. There wasn't a mob. There was a small oiler. And today, Blein Horror, I remember the hesped that the Puperov made in the Wiener Schul on the Heilige Belzerov. The Zelmerov spoke, and the Poferov spoke, and Rabbi Yonason spoke. Blein Horror, Blein Horror, Blein Horror. Ich bin nicht überrennen, ich bin nicht ein Horror. Der Eibusher soll Tage schicken, der Belzerov soll haben a ganze Yeshua, a ganze Repur, to be Mamshich in the Avodas HaKodesh. Rabbi say, the Eibusher soll helfen. It's hard to continue, but I would like the oil to be mekabel upon themselves, to be mekabel upon themselves, to take this individual called Rav Baruch Bold, who is the biggest marbit stoyer. Who doesn't need now schusim? Wer darf nicht his schusim? As a young boy, I was born in Eretz Yisrael. Hat man gesagt, hab schon mit Stamme, ihr habt das auch gehört, die Fisch in Wasser zittern, wenn man hört das Wort Elul. Fisch in Wasser haben uns zittern. Ich hab gehört von Rab Dessler. I heard it from him. He said, two drawing were talking. They did a business with a Yid. So one boy asked the other boy, can you trust the Jew? What he says is you can trust him. It's Chodesh Elul. Jews don't lie, Chodesh Elul. Jews don't lie, Chodesh Elul. In this month they say only the truth. Soll der Ewigste helfen. Rabbi say, only we all know what Rachme Shomayim we need. I don't want Chaz v'Sholem to go in, but she told him, we need such Rachme Shomayim that only the Ewigste alone. See, I remember I was in Los Angeles, an old lady came, sagt sie mir, ich red zum Rebbeinu Shalom. Was beit ich dir, Rebbeinu Shalom? Tu know wie viel du kannst. Just do as much as you can. Der Eibusher. Zieh wie viel du kannst. Ich werde nicht mehr. Aber we have to, there was, I remember, and I'll be Messiah with them, there was once in Eretz Yisrael a plague called polio. Oh, in Nerbach. There were kids in Cheder. You saw them today. You didn't saw them tomorrow. It was oil and oil. One time, the big place in Yerushalayim, Yeshivas Meshorim, it's a huge yeshiva. So Reb Sholem Shvadron came, and he asked all the ladies should go in. And then he opened up the Horn Kodesh, and he says, the rest is up to you. You do what you can. There was such toilets. You was able to hear it a block away. There was one story I heard. There was another kid. He was my chaver in the Kalina Shul in Yerushalayim. He was so sick with polio. Our parents told him, don't go to the house because you don't know if he's alive. Yom Kippur by night, der Shtetl Hafsote, after Kol Nidre. His mother, she went into the shul. She went into the Ober, Oren Chodesh. She started to speak. Geboine Shalom, ich bete. Ich will noch an mein Sohn soll lernen die heilige Torah. I never remember so many men were crying like at that moment. And 80 years later, and he's alive. Ich weiß, was jeden kennen wollen. Yes, Rabbi said, Rav Shmuel gave us a job. We have to cry. Cry to the Rabboni Shalom. Shared more Shalom Shlobes. Rav Shmuel Zichron Avrohom used to make an appeal every Yom Kippur before Mincha. And he used to always concentrate on the words, Ve'elonu shiu rak ha'torah hazos. Rak ha'torah hazos. Through Torah, but der Eibishter helfen, Torah wachsen, in Belhom Yeshuas, in was dafen. Oh yeah, it's hard to talk about it, the issues with Shidduchim, and we darf nicht machen. Soll der Eibishter helfen, jeder Jid, each and every one of us, soll geholfen werden mit alles, was wir darf, B'tkulas Yeshua v'rachmim, und wir soll solche sein, gut gebencht Jahr und aktive Bachasim Teuve, Bono, Chane, Bono, Chaim, Zoya Rebiche, wir soll alle zusammen gehen mit Kabel sein, für den Mashiach Sekene, B'meyo, B'yomeyo.
Oh, bravo. Los, war echt. Boah, ich habe die Bock, ich habe Organisatie, am Story, das ist lieber. Aha.
Шулатики, да? Почему? Сын, таким вот.
Wow, noch zeggen, feier die gewete von Gedäule Yisrael. B'shem Ignish Torah, I'd like to thank Rav Avrohom Schorr for the feier die gewete, and Rav Shmuel Dishon. The words Heilige Werte bring to B'chia. We're soon going to have the presentation in a few minutes, Miyat Hashem. And I want to thank my Dayan, the Stolen of Dayan, Rav Avrohom Schorr, for coming to give us his presence, his inspiration for us all the years, and all the Rabbonim that came tonight, and Rabbi Skver Dayan, Rabbi Ginsburg, Shiyuv Shlem Menahel, Rabbi Goldwasser, Rabbi Frankel, many other Rabbonim. Should be takas chutz of all of us. Poitzim b'poi daksanya. I will take the personal to thank Mr. and Mrs. Yankee Fureisen and Classic Caterers. Rabbi said, look what I quote Shemayim. He schwitzes here tens of years, already 20 years, every year with this new simcha, new chachis, to bring the cover of Torah to Klal Yisrael. And to thank the Eibishter on Bensham, to thank him and his Rebbe to a lot of simchas, with simcha for Klal Yisrael. Also like to thank L'choshev Yedidim, Reb Ari Parnes, who every year comes here with his slavas, the Chavod HaTorah, and all the Yedidim and Shutfim. Many of them are Reuven Wolf, Rabbi Berkowitz, Moshe Klein, Avi Steinman, Eli Goldbaum, Lady Steinmetz, and many more. Chalda Hashem Kili Somnu, like we heard from the Gedolei Torah, Baruch Hashem, a year from Simchas HaTorah, and we came here again for another year to pilot another year of Torah all over the world. This Erev Shabbos, I was going to shul. A Yid comes over to me and tells me, Rabbi Bald, in your schus I'm learning Torah. I tell him, what do you mean? So he tells me that he moved to Staten Island. He used to have a Dafayoy Mishir Bekviyas. He always learned a Dafayoy Mishir. And as soon as he went to Staten Island, he didn't have a shir, so he stopped learning Dafayoy. Went a day, a week, another week, a few weeks. It was already 25 days. It was already 25 days that he didn't learn Dafayoy. And then he gave up.
And then he called in Chalamoy to hear the shir of Rabbi Zev Smith, who spoke about Chashivas HaTorah. And he spoke so much about the of Kvist eating the Chashivas HaTorah that he got so inspired. Just because I moved, I should drop my Seder Ruchnius, my Torah. So he decided he has to get back on track. And he told his Rebbetzin, Chalamoy, do me a favor, this Chalamoy, I'm off. No trips, nothing. A whole day he sat and learned till after Yom Tov 25 block, and he's till today learning Daf Yomi. This is one example of thousands people that come over to me that the Shurim changed their life. And to explain it, a drop, I'll say a word of the Heilige Chassam Sofer, and this week's Pasha Serei. The Pasha starts as a brocha, Asher Tishmu, Asher Noichi Mitzav Eschem Hayoim. It says, if you learn Torah, Hayoim, Chazal always says it means, Kolim Yubenecha Kechadoshim. If you learn Torah with simcha, as if every day is a new day, a new excitement, you zoichet the Torah, you'll get all the bracha. What does it say after that? V'klole em lo yisishmu. If you don't listen, Asher Noichi Mitzav Eschem Hayoim. What is the word Hayoim there? If a person doesn't learn, we're excited, but he does all the mitzvahs, he gets klal chas v'shalom. Avadanat. The pasuk says afterwards, the sartam aladera. That's when a person gets klala. So why does it say the word hayoin by klala? Look at some sefer heilige Werte. This is the secret. Unfortunately, why there's so many dropouts in Klal Yisrael today, when you hear these words of some sefer, you understand it. V'yesh leima the meteva honushi. The Eibishter created that a person has to eat and drink and sleep. Is machadish dech sam sefer. There's a fourth thing that the Eibishter created that you have to have. The meteva hanushi v'tayvis kolish l'diyut mechadosha. A person has a nature to hear news. What's new? You don't want to hear old news. You want to hear what's new. A person has that nature born in a person. Volcane, im eina toide chaviva be'en of kol yom ki'ilo hayoim kibul mesinai. If a person doesn't go with his chachas the Torah, or his smoyach bo kekala chadosha, os memele date noite l'shmoyach chadoshas mavoide zores. If a person doesn't learn Torah with his chachas, nu shailis, nu geschmack in Torah, automatically he needs to know other news, go to news outlets, go to technology, go to find new things to try to satisfy his natural excitement that a person created in the person. And Menahel, he'll go off the derech. So if a person doesn't learn b'simcha and do mitzvahs b'simcha, automatically he'll come to fall away. And that's why, unfortunately, there's so many off the track. They don't realize that the Eibishter created in the nature, none of us to learn, to find new halachas, new shaylas, new things in his learning. Rabbi say, in the times of a Sarashlis and Klal Yisrael, every day shiurim, Sunday morning, night shiurim, Ben Azmanim, Chodesh Nisan, Tishrei, in tens of neighbors in American Israel, thousands of bachim, thousands of children in Yeshivas Chalamoid, some every single day, Barapak, Ulyasburg, Fabish, 3 Rabban coming in one shot, with Kasavas, coming to speak, thousands of listeners to each year worldwide. Worldwide Shoivivim project, which over 1 million Yidden joined the B'shurim already. 3 generations. Tahara, Yiddishkeit. Thousands of people in Skver to Yiddishkeit. Bringing them a geschmack and learning. This is not just about plain just learning Torah. This is about like Rav Shmuel Dishon spoke here on this stender and said it is Atzolas Klal Yisrael. In today's generation, if a person doesn't go with excitement and learning and geschmack, automatically he falls, and that's why the bachim in the light and girls are falling every day. And when they hear the shiurim, they get hooked on. How many people can, Rabbi Bull, you saved my daughter, you saved my son. He finds every day no excitement. All over the world we get these calls. Rabbi say, as we heard before from Rav Shmuel Dishon and Rav Schorr, the matzav in Yisrael, everybody knows there's Afghanistan going on, unfortunately, to take out the bachim and the light out of jail. Eigen Torah has the shiurim all year, and they made special now for besides Chodesh Nisan and Tishrei Ben Azmanim. Now and it's always Ben Azmanim. These 3 weeks before Chodesh Elzman, hundreds of bachim and the young light are coming to shiurim in the big Skver shul near Bells every single day. Afghanis and learning. But the pachad of the matzav in Yisrael, it's not just that there's a milchama and people are afraid to go anywhere in Yisrael. People are afraid for their children. We're all with them, as we heard the anti-Semitism all over the world. The Archaim HaKodesh in this week's parasha says clearly what's the problem. Why do we have such problems in Klal Yisrael? In a few words he writes it. It's very easy to skip those words. But in the beginning of parasha, it's Rezuk the Archaim HaKodesh. Why does it say Rei Anoichi Noisen Lefneichem Bracha Klala? We have Voya Ikev Tishma. We have all the parshas of bracha. What do you need again? The brachas and parshas Rei. So the Chaim HaKodesh. Parshas Rei is not the beginning of a parsha. It's Pasuk Chavav. It's the middle of the parsha. The parsha is split. It's a hemshich to the psukim before. What does it say before? By the end of Parashas Ekev, it says in the Psukim, Kalamokem Ashet Tidroich Kaf Ragelchem Boilechem Yeh. You'll have the land of Eretz Yisrael. That's Pasuk Chav Dalet. What's Pasuk Chav Hey? Lo Yis Yatzev Ish B'fneichem. Nobody's going to come in front of you to make you be frightened. Pachtechem Umoyrachem. Pachtechem, says Rashi, means Ala Kroivim, Gaza, right near Eretz Yisrael. Umoyrachem Ala Rechoikim, Iran. All the people around are trying to hurt Eretz Yisrael. Yitin Hashem Elekechem al pnei ka'oretz asher tiducha ba kasher libelchem. Hashem will make everybody be afraid of Eretz Yisrael. Nobody would want to hurt any Yid. That's how Parshas Ekev ends. This week's Parsha. When is that? That's the Chaim HaKodesh Pshat. Lezer Malehem. After Kol HaMokem Asher Tiducha V'Ragelchem Boilechem Yeh. And you're not going to be afraid. When is that? Rei Anoichi Noisen Lefneichem. Pirush Nesina Zusha Hashem Noisen Lechem Hayoim. When is that? This Nesina has a bracha in a klala. It's a bracha shetishmu. In Tishmu Ti Nesina Zulechem the bracha. If you don't learn Torah, then you're going to have a bracha. V'im lo yisishmuchun ein zulechem, being in Eretz Yisrael ki im klala. Shebemtzuuso yiskanu b'chem ha'umais. There'll be anti-Semitism. V'ya'abdu eschem memena v'dekome gedoyle. They'll come fight against us and kill our soldiers and kill our Eden. Ch'mon al-Aslan. The Chaim HaKodesh is telling, what is the problem? The problem is that there's not enough Torah. Unfortunately, there's so many brothers that we still have to be makarev. Re'ei anoichi noisem lefneichem zok tikliyok. Anoichi is loshen yachid lefneichem is loshen rabim. Together with the Chaim HaKodesh, the Eibush says every Yid has to change the whole world. Every Yid has to take a chayas. You can't just, and that's why there's so many tzaras that is all. So look, the Chaim HaKodesh, and the Chaim HaKodesh explains in Parshas Bahar. So what are we supposed to do about it? He says in the pasuk, Yomuch Echicho. It goes on. The Eibush has Yomuch. He brings the Gemara there, and it says in the psukim there, V'ish kiloye goyel. Yidden will be in Golus, and there's no goyel, there's no geula, there's no Mashiach. Why is that? Zok the Chaim HaKodesh, ki ein ish sama leiv, ein menahel, ve'ein machzik biyad Yisraelis la'ashiv l'aviyah. We don't have enough people to bring back the Yidden to Hashem. We don't have enough people, and that's why we have Golus and Yisrael. Zok the Chaim HaKodesh. And as I think, Asach Sforim HaKadoshim, in the Ola Shemayim from the Upterov says, fire the Kevet and Pashas Ekev. Ekev Tishmun, Ekev is Ikvus of the Mashiach. Tishmun take the Yidden together to learn Torah. Zok the words of the Heilige Me'apte. V'ikar atikun tolu sheyahava v'achva v'dvekes bein Yisraelis. We need achtis in every year the Klal Yisrael, even those that hate us. V'dovazet tzarech l'farsim. The Me'apte says this is what we have to be mefarsim. Avo pisha dor hazeh nucha loim olav shudor deya. The Me'apte says his dor was a dor of tzadikim kedosha elyon. I will call echad ein roitzek im bitikuna. Every person wants that he should be a tzaddik. He himself should grow. Ve'eina mashgiach al Klal Yisrael, and doesn't give up his time for Klal Yisrael. Ve'ikin mashgiach al tikun ha'olam. The Me'apte says that's when Mashiach is going to come, when everybody takes a chrayis for Klal Yisrael. And Rabbi said this is not just the words from Chaim HaKodesh and Me'apte. It's a befedische tonne de be'eliyo. Look it up, Perikut Aleph. I'll say the point. It's 2 pages in Tanat Be'elion. Tanat Be'elion says, Kol mishe sipik biyoda limches. A person could be moich and help Klal Yisrael grow. Ve'ena machzeh. Kol hadomim haneshpachim b'Yisrael. People that die, eina mal yoda, because we didn't do enough. And he says, frightening words. He says 70,000 Yidden died. 70,000 Yidden died in Givas Binyamin. Why did they die? Listen to these words of Tanah Debelio, Perikut Aleph. Lefi shahoylem leSanhedrin gedoyle sheliach Moshe v'Yeshua Pinchas ben Elazar. That big Sanhedrin tzaddikim. Hoylem leilech. They came to Israel. Everybody learned in their own koil. They should have gone. They should have tied ropes of metal on their feet. They should have koich to go. That long clothing. They should have picked up their clothing. They should close the Sanhedrin. No Bezdin, no Sanhedrin. Everybody should run around and teach Klal Yisrael Torah. Yoim Echad LeLakish, Yoim Echad LeBeiskel, Yoim Echad LeChevron, Yoim Echad LeYerushalayim. V'chem b'chol makom is Yisrael. V'lam is Yisrael derech eretz z'dvim Torah. Tir atche yashu Yisrael kadei shizgadol v'yizkadosh Moshe LaKadosh Baruch Hu ba'olam b'skulim shabara. Misoifa oilam ha'atzoifai. Now what happened? V'heim lo also came. They didn't do that. They came to Israel. Kol echad lechad mem nichas lekamoi, uleyenoi, ulesadeu, v'oimrim shalom alecha nafshi. I have to take care of my field. I have to be able to panos and learn. They didn't want to work extra hard. It was hard enough. They have to work extra hard. They didn't want to work extra hard. Sagt der Tonne wieder kach schon am Mischna. Haben wir mal beisig was Zeug beteure, war wir schwalluch befleck Adam. Wenn betalte man a teure ist betelem habe krieg decha. He means to say that don't think because you didn't want to work so hard it's going to be easier for you. Rather you should have gone and run around to teach Torah. What happened then? Ba'oisa shah bikesh HaKadosh Baruch Hu lahacher v'es kol oilum kuloi. HaKadosh Baruch Hu l'nasati le'eles Eretz Yisrael. Why they give them a Yisrael for? Like they sheyiklu v'yishnu v'yasku b'toyle kol inim b'zmanoi. He's maraching this. And he says if you would done it, you kuim ben b'Yisrael ha'kose v'rok tu mekem chamisha meyo mekem revav v'yodoifu. That's even if you just learn midas of that acheretz. Avon matasos ha'toyle v'mitzvahs. Echad mekem yirdoif elef ishnai mekem yinisur revav tens of thousands. One yid would kill 1,000 goyim. And why didn't it happen? The fikach begivers binom shalei oiskem etorah acheretz. Escaped to Yosem Melchama, and 70,000 Yidden died. Umi haragas kolela, who killed the 70,000 Yidden? Hava oimele haragas osne el Sanhedrin gedoyle. Their fault, because the Sanhedrin didn't go and teach them Torah. This is pachadike vet. The Bavitcher Rebbe takes out of these words of Tanah B'Elio. Sanhedrin, they could be done din and nefashos only in the Makaimam. If they run around the Golas, the whole Sanhedrin is a bottle. Zokta, when he learned, you have to take away from your own steigin and your own Torah in order to teach Yidden Torah. And it was a tviyah, and that's why 70,000 Yidden died in Givas Binyamin because they didn't learn Torah. Mide Toiva Meruba, this chus from new Yidden that came here tonight. That you want to have a chelik and abotzes of Torah in Eretz Yisrael, in America, all over the world. Yidden should be in a scholar of Yiddishkeit. What a chus godlet is it? To help a little to have a chelik. A chelik and take over this charo in half. The cast, that's already 2 years in Klal Yisrael. And now the sinner, the God, it's nicht stama sinner. We have to turn over the world. Even b'chaz Klal Yisrael. And by Yom Mechazik Zayin, especially the Shovim Shurim, which goes all over Eretz Yisrael, the Kibbutzim Eretz Yisrael, we send out Rabbanim to go out to teach Yiddishkeit. Poshet is an Elech Yidden. If you give a Menadev at least one place to send a roll 5-6 times, $1,000, peanuts. And the Schusim is doyres. The Betzina Rav, I'll give you the address. Chelik Ches. Simukov Ches. I don't have time to read the whole tshuva. He speaks about, someone told him, why is he giving Askama on a Taras Mishpacha in English language? He writes, I'm screaming. The Yidden don't know halachas. They don't know Taras Mishpacha. The Hamish and the Kohen, they don't know it. I see it. And he said, my biggest chus that I have for myself is that he made one share in Taras Mishpacha in his shul in Bar Park. Those that remember. He was the first one that made a share in his shul. And he said, this should stay as chus for me, for my doires, I shall get the kind and get the doires. this chus that he made this year, he writes in his shuva, that shuva. What would he say today? Hundreds of thousands of Eden are coming, and you Eden are tired, Eden are supporting it. You want to have a chus in it. This is chus for your doidas, this is chus for Klal Yisrael. Rabbi said we need a big shmirim and a shamayim, as we heard already. It's not just that Yisrael. Today, wherever you go in the street, people in the country, they're going to have a hold up. Some of you hear, but I hear from Alt Askan, I hear a lot what's doing. The sinner, we need a shmira, where we go. We need shuvit for the tzedakah, mavina surah gzeira. How do we get mavina surah gzeira? Rabbi said there's a chiddush nifla in this week's parasha, El Yalkit. Yalkit Shemai, look it up on the pasuk of Asa to Asa, Asa b'shultz Asher. He brings the pasuk v'samachta b'chol ha'toiv. This is his words. V'samachta b'chol ha'toiv. It's in Parshas Kisavai. Ein toiv el ha'toira. D'chsiv kilekach toiv. Lefikach Moshe mazir aseh ta'aseh. You got the connection? It says in Parshas Kisavai v'samachta b'chol ha'toiv. My meiser, by Bekura my meiser, before the pasuk in Kisachal ha'aseh. Lefikach that's when Moshe says in this week's Parsha aseh ta'aseh. Zok the Chida a pelle dike pshat, the Chida in the Chida. Moi dike pshat in this Yalkin. There's a chiddush nifl which I didn't see elsewhere. A boy said we need Rachme Shamayim. We know tzedakah is gewaltige schusim. But how do we get the benefit of tzedakah? We know that it says it's a machta b'chol ha'toiv and toiv means Torah. Frek the Chida moi dike kasha. How could you be happy? A person can never be happy. There's our bo chaluke kapara, the Gemara in Yuma. A person does shuva and asay, he's neskapa right away. A regular lav, Yom Kippur is mechaper. You have creases, Mrs. Bezdin, Yisurim mechaper. Chilal Hashem, only Misa. You can have tshuva, you can have Yom Kippur, you can have Yisurim. It's not neskapa. And the Chilal Hashem is very easy to do. Rashi says the Chilal Hashem means anybody learns from you what to do. A person does something wrong, people learn from you, you made a Chilal Hashem. People do Chilul Hashem. The opposite, the Yaras Vashes, you gotta do Kiddush Hashem. But how is a person can be happy with Samachta v'chol ha'toiv? He's not guaranteed. Maybe the crease was my mistake. Maybe he did Chilul Hashem. And there's nothing to help. He needs Misa. You saw him. How can he get it? Samachta? Zoch Tichidon Chiddush Nefla. That if a person learns Torah, if he's a Dav to Zayin, you don't need a Bo Chaluke Parah. You don't even know Yisurim, you don't even know you're Harvin Torah. Zog the Medrash to Fikach Aseh Ta'aseh. What's the Shaykhis Aseh Ta'aseh? If you look in the Ramban, I'm explaining it. If you look in the Ramban writes, the Ika Aseh Ta'aseh is going on Meiser Sheni. It says, Mantil Malira. You make Meiser, you go to Yisrael, for you, for your kids, and for all the Eden to sit and learn, or for the Revi'im as Meiser Rishon. But the Ika Pesuk passes the Ramban is Mantil Nav Le'yira state in the pasuk. So the Medrash says, Torah, you can save your life through Torah. Tzedakah is too also the same way. Tzedakah, and it makes people learn too. Also the schos, you can be saved yourself. And I saw it this week. I saw it. You need a schos. There's a hest upon him. I called one of the people that sponsor usually gives $1,000 a transfer, and I called him up. I was him 5 minutes. After 5 minutes, he says, I'm getting a call from my wife twice. It seems like something is urgent. Rabbi Bol, could you please wait just for a second? And he stayed on the phone for a few minutes. I knew it was probably something very urgent. So he says, Rabbi Bol, I want to tell you something. Right now, the second, I'm talking after 5 minutes, my wife sat in the back of the car, and there's a terrible accident. The whole front of the car is all smashed, and it's all going on the news. And my wife didn't even not a scratch, so she called me right away in the car still, that because it's going out, people are going to know, you shouldn't be nervous, because she wasn't touched. So I say, look, Hashem was mazmin you give every year. You want mechazik Torah and Tar and Klal Yisrael. Hashem was mazmin you b'shas you're in a sina that your wife should be saved and not a scratch happened to her. Zero. It's tzedakah for Torah. We only shemiram and hashamayim. Schusim we need. Torah the schus. The chidon saying chiddush nifla. We could save ourselves from Yisurim. We could save ourselves. We had sorrows and thousands of Yinach, people, accidents all over. We hear 2 girls now, but what happened to them? Stories all over. We need more protection from Hashemayim. Schus HaTorah, schus giving for Torah. I don't like to say mices, but I was like, I have a few short of this. There was a Yid that he wanted to give for a certain project, $6,000. And he told me about Bull, I have a problem. He has a stock, they lost millions of dollars on it. And next Thursday, there was Sunday, and next Thursday, it's either going down totally or going up. I told him, Torah could help. You give for Torah, I'm not guaranteeing anything, but if you give for Torah, even though I've asked upon him, but it could help. He called me up Thursday, and by Bull, can I give him Kvittler? I said, so with me, you give for Torah. The stock flew up. There was a mishpacha that didn't have kids for 8 years in Montreal. They were one out of the shiurim for the Noshim Tzidkonius. And they did announce the names. I hold announcing a name that people should daven for them. And the next year, they made another Sifus Noshim Ataras Mishpacha, and they announced the Mazel Tov of the couple that sponsored this from last year. There was a younger man that doesn't live in the Queens, used to come drive, a Choshev younger man, used to come drive into Rabbi Smith's shir every Sunday morning. And he had a daughter that was Gvat HaShidduch. And he came with Rabbi Bald, I want to have Skus Torah. And I want to give for Shidduch for my daughter. And announce the name. So I did. And Rabbi said within the month she was engaged. And it's gemeint mit der Emes for Poshat Skus Torah. It doesn't always help. But you need a Skus that the Skus Torah should help. But you see it's a fact. I was once in Purim. Sie gewinnt aber a Tate, hat sich ausgewinkt to me in Purim. He has a daughter that never had a Maisach, and because she went through Baruch Hashem, she's clean. But because she went through what she went through, nobody wants to mishada with them. Nobody wants to take him. It's self-understood. He gave me $5,000 for Taras Mishpacha. Soon after she was engaged. There was another Yid that's like a mitchit mit her Tochter, and he called me up, and he says, I'm working for a few years on this daughter for Shidduch. Now I have something that looks something that makes sense. But Tzigeitish. And he was so mitzar, he's not in a big veer. I didn't say anything. I never ask someone in Yenem Soros. Not by Nichma Velim, not by, Yenem Soros auf dem Stadt für sein Mitzar. And it's always get that. And Bishaz and Rabbi Bold, I need a shidduch for my daughter. If within 30 days she gets engaged, $18,000. He believed it himself, but it wasn't within 30 days, and he gave the $18,000. The boy said, right now there's a story. Today I was busy, yesterday and today I couldn't call any of you people because I was busy calling the Rabbanim to come and arrange arrangements. Rabbi Dishon, he was in the hospital. It wasn't easy. There was a lot of arrangements to get him to come. But there's one Yid, Bricha Mabon, Tenke Rav Shlit, one of the Zikr Rabbanim in Borough Park. I called up this Yid a few hours ago. Why did I call him up? I told him, you sponsored a special Asifa for Shidduchim a few months ago, and Vibal, today is the big Simchas. Since today is the big Simchas HaTorah of Ingen Torah's Asifa to B'mchazik Ingen Torah all over the world, I have a feeling you're making a Simcha tonight. You hear him, Meister? A few months ago, he sponsored a big project of Shidduchim to help out for Klaisel and Torah and Shidduchim. And we announced his name. I called him a few hours ago today. I have a hargosha that you're making a Simcha. Simchas Ingen Shir Torah. Your daughter's becoming a kala. So I see it becomes quiet. He's talking to somebody. He comes back to me, Rabbi Bold, I'll tell you. Yes, tonight B'Shaz the dinner. Tomorrow, we're not announcing the name yet, but tomorrow we'll announce it. I thought, how do you know? I said, the Eibusha gave me this feeling, a machshava. Why is that? I said, I asked my wife, I didn't want to tell you, but I asked her my wife. She says, you have to tell her, my Bold. A yid made me to emes, a give for Torah, and give for Klal Yisrael. What's the biggest chus that could be? The ik is not the meises. The ik is mishtein the fachodesh el. One of the things that we made special, the presentation was about Shidduchim. Klal Yisrael leads a big issue in Shidduchim. And one of the reasons why we took together from all the Gedolim at Israel about Shidduchim is because it's a Tzorah Gil Yankov. Tens of thousands of Bnei Yisrael and Bnei Yisrael are waiting for the Shidduch. And I wanted it to be promoted. It's a Shidduchim that people should do. That was one of the Kavanas. To Mechazik Dinim Shidduchim. And we did many asifas on it. And in all the neighborhoods, we promoted that every shul should have a Vada of 5 younger light and a Vada of 5 ladies. Every school, every yeshiva, everyone has to belong to a Vad. Every person. It's a chayiv goma. Every person should get 5 people together. People that will have other kids and work on shidduchim. And that'll be a tremendous chus for everybody. But the kids, we didn't come to hear the maises. The ikas halacha lemaisa. We're standing here for Rosh Hashanah. Shuva tvilat tzedakah. Ma'avir nasaroya exeda. We said over from the chidah. The koyach of toil and tzedakah. You don't need a bachaluke kapara. The Gemara and Yuma. You can get through with tzedakah through the yemedin. You try your best. The shuva tvilat tzedakah. We're asking everybody to give for time some shpacha, at least a series in one of these kibbutzim at Yisrael, to bring them closer to the Eibishter, $1,000 paid up through the year in the schus. Don't give it because of a tzara, of an accident, like we mentioned before. Give it to thank Hashem, but the leb to you. And we should dive into the Eibishter hell. We should be zoichet a good el. We'll be zoichet through that a good year. And a shemirim and a shamayim. There's almost battle of all tzuras from Klal Yisrael. And everybody here shall have a ksiva v'chasim et toive lonel choyson. Amen. I want to ask just to Tenke Rav. I daven with him a lot. Is my mishpacha. I want to ask him from the Zikner Rabbonim and Barapak and Chazik Ignishetar all the years, just to say divrei bracha, ksiva chsim et toive divrei bracha lonel choyson. Since it's again.
I'm Salven, das Salven sein, Frat, auf seiner Heilig, und sagt, du war gudel meoid, bis du zusammengekommen, chasig sein, in Stissen, Teumer sein, irgend schiere teure, wie viel teure sie geht daraus. Das starke Wort. Dus ik zag mal eben, in Mishne Saharen, die Mure sucht, me sagt es da durch, me midwer me tun, dass macht sich hefker, also wie am midwer me tun, bekommt am me tun. Was meint es? Durch dem, was meint also, am leeren teure mit die Mitzwe, meint mir nicht nur sie, aber der mir macht hefker, weil leeren teure oder mit die Mitzwe, im Besuch des Shem Yichet Kitschebechi, beschein Kol Yisrael, ist es mir Spiel an Ohr von allen Jiden. Wie immer sie mir Spiel. Überall bringt es Chesed, überall bringt es, ahab Tukes Hadin, überall, teure, misses Maßem teure. Wer sich halt, Midwer, ich bin nicht allein. Alles, was ich ich von Klal Yisrael, bekommt am Metuna. Wo ist der Metuna? Der Metuna ist gitte Kinder. Nee, von einfach wie Mure sucht. Als wenn einer sucht hat gesucht von Amaratz am Chamre, der Fall sagt, viele mit der Chumam, alles Kinder mit der Chumam. War halt der Teure noch für sich. Bekommt nicht der Metuna. Gitte Kinder ist am Metuna. Gitte Schlichim ist am Metuna. Man meint das alles am Metuna. Nun, was können mehr trachten? Wie irgendeine schiere Teure, was man geht sich weg von der ganzen Welt. Alle Mohantel Chazoi. Alles geht mit allem. Der belangt durch, der belangt dorten, der belangt dorten. Sei Chushef, alles ist Chushef. Alles ist Chushef von der Bonischleuren. Aber bei Emerson, der Chivas ist das, mit dem Stuhl. Alles hier, den Buhne Watem, Lashem, Lekeichen. Alles haben mit Kinder von der Bonischleuren. Alles geht mir heftiger von der Bonischleuren. Mir meint ich sich, mir meint ich sagen, wie belangt, Und man weiß nicht, dort der Räufen, ich meinte, ich kein Kritik. Aber ich meine, das meinte ich, man meint von der ganzen Klar ist so. Und das ist ihr Geschirr teure. Ihr Geschirr teure ist auf eingestellt. Jeder kommt heran, jeder, der mit Kuchen, ich komme heran, jeden Herrn, von aller Schichten, was ist eigentlich, jeden einen verschiedene, von allem, ich säue es mit allem. Und man meint, kommt uns, hat man auch heilig in dem Midbar. Bekommt man am Tun. Wo sind am Tun? Am Tun geht die Kinder, ist am Warten, sie stützen die Mäuse, at man Humma, Sluchen, Bereben, sie hatte die Schmeier, mit der Brüche, was Sluchen, in Naches von alle Kinder, mit so solche Sätze, es gar nicht Gott, Schmeier, beim Heide, beim Heide, Humma.
Stehen mir geschüttet, like the saying, the Tenke Rav Shlit, aber der Flammenfeier, die gewährt und die Physik zu alles. Der Schkoich weltweit wegen Machase gegen Schilteure. Please, Halloch alle Meise, sponsor Shir Taras, Mashpocha was $1,000. And that's who's ever have a Xerox in Meteve. Marev, nu?